Hey everybody, TJ here. You all know that when it comes to gaming, Nintendo is nearest and dearest to my heart. The reality is, with so many great first-party titles out there, I seldom have the time to give the rest of the gaming world more than a passing glance. But at E3 2017, there was one game that definitely caught my eye, called Circle of Saviors from a company known as 5-4.
Hey, this is TJ. I just played this amazing game where I got to play a sword fighter.
Now, I realize our dedicated focus here at Nintendo Wire is covering Nintendo content, but this game was such a fun and unique gaming experience for me that I wanted to take a little time to share my thoughts with you. As you can see, Circle of Saviors is a virtual reality game, and E3 2017 is the first ever exhibit outside of Japan. I've spent over a decade working in Los Angeles, California as a professional sword fighter for film, television, and new media, so my primary interest in Circle of Saviors was to see how real-life training and experience translates to the virtual environment. Would my real-life swordplay make me better at this game? I teamed up with President and CEO of 5-4, Mr. Takayoshi Tanagawa, to put my skills to the test.
Hey there, I'm with Taka here from 5-4, and we're playing the Circle of Saviors. And the circle is where the sword fighter is going to stand, and you've got to defend against a horde of oncoming goblins, orcs, these crazy enemies. Actually, we also met yesterday the actress from the video. She's actually right over there. She's really good. She's the one you see in the demo right there. And so I had to study her moves first to see if I could keep up. Now, how much practice did you get before you shot the video?
I practiced a lot, like 4 hours.
It took her 4 hours to do better than I did in 14 years of sword training. She might look cute and small, but she's deadly in battle, don't doubt it.
I also want to mention this was my first ever experience with VR. I've made a conscious effort to steer clear on account of my high susceptibility to severe motion sickness. However, unlike a game that attempts to simulate the sensation of moving, in this demo I was free to move as I would in real life so long as I hover around the designated circle. Melee combat was up to me, and guarding my back with his crossbow was the greatest archer to grace the game, my new friend and ally, CEO himself, Taka.
Taka was my backup. How essential is two-player? Can this game be played single player with one sword fighter or just an archer?
AI. And also like an AI supporting.
Oh, so if you do play it single player, the AI will take the second position?
Yeah.
The interface proved to be highly intuitive. The controllers in my hands did not feel terribly dissimilar to the grip of an actual sword, albeit the weight was conspicuously lighter. My mind and body almost immediately accepted the swords as genuine, insofar as the movement was concerned. It felt natural for my body to respond with parries and attacks developed over years of practice. The biggest difference between the combat in the Circle of Saviors demo and a real fighting scenario for me was depth perception. I had to recalibrate to how far away something was from me. By and large, enemies and objects were roughly where I expected them to be, but because in the game we have infinite focus, there's no depth of field, so there isn't that natural drop-off in the distance that the eye experiences in real life where you can tell how close something really is. But my perception of how close something seemed to be and how the game responded to my movements were close enough in concert for it not to present too much of a problem. If an enemy appeared to be a little outside of my sword range, it was a little outside of my sword range. For the purposes of the demo, the enemy behaviors were quite simplistic, but they each had their own style of attacking. Red enemies presented the most urgent threat, yellow enemies were tricky, and the green enemies were dispatched easily. Flying enemies shot projectiles at the sword fighter, and while I could deflect their attacks with parries, they could only be eliminated by the archer. At the end, we faced off against a massive final boss, requiring me to sidestep to avoid being stepped on, slipping in attacks where I could, all the while receiving ranged support from Taka at my back.
And one thing I didn't notice when we were playing, because I trusted you, I knew you had my back, but I watched some of the other archers, they were actually purposefully shooting the sword fighter, like... So, does it actually damage the sword fighter if the archer shoots?
We don't have player kill features.
That's a good idea, because otherwise the archer would just come.
But you will be using arrows?
So if you're going to embarrass your friend, it's at a cost.
One of the most interesting and entertaining aspects of Circle of Saviors is the mixed reality component. The sword fighter and the crossbowman are cooperatively defending against an oncoming attack simultaneously, but each with their own unique interface. In addition to that, the green screen area allows for a real-time composite of the battle from a multi-angle perspective for spectators in what reminds me of a technological update to the ancient traditions of gladiatorial combat in the Roman Colosseum as a form of entertainment for the masses. Are you not entertained?
Now, as my female sword fighting friend here and I can attest to, sword fighting is actually really hard work. And you break a sweat, gives you the big muscles. Her muscles are even bigger than my muscles. Doing this game, I felt just as out of breath. I felt like I had just as good of a workout. Is fitness one of the goals of the game?
Yes, real esports.
So it's not really just a fun way of engaging with the sword and living out that sword fighting fantasy. it's also a way to get your body fighting fit.
As a lifelong sword fighting fan, it was exhilarating to challenge myself against a slew of monsters with sword in hand. Circle of Saviors offers the experience I was hoping for from The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword for Nintendo Wii, which boasted a 1-to-1 movement ratio between Link's sword and the Wii Motion Plus controller. I certainly enjoyed my time with Skyward Sword, but I'll be the first to say it wasn't really 1-to-1. It was close enough to be able to get through the game, but Circle of Saviors is on a whole other level. The actions I performed with the controllers, I could actually watch my swords perform through the VR headset in literally real time. The one thing missing from the experience for me is some sense of impact. While the visuals clearly communicate to me what's happening, I feel like the game could really benefit from some type of rumble feature in the controller to help the player register the sense of contact and deepen immersion. And who knows, maybe that's something that can be implemented down the line as the technology improves.
Let me ask you one more question. Now, this game is not currently available here in the West. What does somebody need to own to buy it? Because it's not Nintendo or Microsoft or Sony consoles. So what's the apparatus required?
We have a hardware called the MR box.
を使って、アーケード展開をする。
So we want this to be implemented into arcades around the US. When we scale enough, we can launch it as a consumer product to practice for the arcade.
If you get the opportunity to give Circle of Saviors a go, I highly recommend you experience it for yourself. As for me, I definitely hope the game makes it stateside so I can rise through the ranks and become the hero of legend I always knew I was destined to be.
He saved my life a few times as the archer. I might have died. It was pretty close, but...
はい、それで信頼が生まれる。
That's how we become friends.
That's how we became friends.
friends.
So hopefully you're going to get the chance to practice so that when it comes time, when this tour comes to your town, you're sword ready to be able to handle yourself in battle against these ferocious monsters. See you guys next time.
Next time.